Hello, I'm Ellie Ginsberg, your Pennsylvania TSA State President. We'd like to thank you. We would like to thank everyone for tuning in to our virtual state officer candidate Q&A. While we wish we could all see you in person today, we're going to do the best we can to make this an enjoyable experience for everyone. Tonight, we're going to ask each of the state officer candidates questions about why they should be elected. We're going to start with office-specific questions. Then we'll move on to a group question. You'll have up to 45 seconds to answer each question. When your name is called, please unmute yourself and answer the question. You'll be muted by one of us at the conclusion of your 45 seconds. Ms. Evans will indicate the amount of time you have left. The yellow paper means that you have 30 seconds remaining, and the red means your time will be up in about 2 seconds. Without further ado, I will start with the presidential candidate question. So could everyone turn off their cameras besides Madison Martin? So the first question is, what experience do you possess that qualifies you to lead PA-TSA this upcoming year?
Great question. So this past year, I had the honor of serving as your state reporter. And the past 3 years, I've had the honor of serving as my chapter's president. And both of these experiences have taught me valuable skills in leadership, organization, and in team building. And I would take all of these skills with me if elected as your next state president.
All right, I guess with that, we'll move on to the question for the vice president position. So if the candidates could turn their cameras on. So since both of you have served as state officers this past year, what campaign initiatives have you followed through on that have directly benefited PA-TSA? First up is Avery Brody.
Yeah, so throughout this year, I was able to serve as your state historian, and during my term, I was able to accomplish a lot. A few of these things, I was able to make additional promo videos to help promote general things to the membership. I helped to change the PA-TSA logo design competition to include social media tags. I worked on the pin design contest with the state treasurer, and that's scheduled to most likely start next year. I also helped in leading the communications and promotions committee and helping to create their own Instagram stories to be posted on PA-TSA social media accounts. And generally, I helped to expand the range of video content produced by the SOT this year.
All right, thank you. Next is Julie Wright.
This year, I had the opportunity to chair our conference sessions and activities committee. Now, this year, we were tasked with creating the first virtual special intersessions, which we accomplished successfully. We were also able to create 4 new sessions. Additionally, we created the Event Resources Subcommittee, where we updated the Event Resources webpage with 2 new resources, a general events guide and a parliamentary procedure events guide. I also expanded our social media content by creating content pertaining to our committee updates, such as the posts regarding the Regional Representatives Committee, or the posts about general committee updates. And that was primarily the main parts of my campaign.
All right, now for the office of secretary. So what leadership qualities do you possess that would allow you to support and work closely with the state officer team and committee members? First up is Erin Mckendree.
Yes, I believe that my best quality in terms of a collective effort is definitely my ability to spark conversation and also be organized. I think organization is extremely important for the role of secretary, especially considering that the position is responsible for keeping track of minutes. If communication is not carried on consistently throughout, we can lose a lot of progress and important notes for different initiatives. And then conversation is most definitely the route to achieving an initiative successfully. I think that without communication, you can't get the best result, and it's the best way to success. Thank you.
All right, next up, Benny Madolfski.
Hi, PA-TSA. So this year I served as your state parliamentarian, and in doing so, I chaired the Bylaw and Resolution Review Committee and the Conference Sessions and Activities Committee. So this, combined with some of my previous experience in committees, would allow me to work closely and efficiently with my committee members. Furthermore, I have a pretty good grasp on the dynamics of a good state officer team that is able to work smoothly and effectively. So I can use these experiences next year to help develop a state officer team that can collaborate intimately and effortlessly.
All right, great job, Secretary candidates. Next is for the treasurer position. Your question is, what fundraising ideas do you have for PA-TSA, and how do you plan to expand chapter involvement in these fundraisers? First up is Avanti.
Well, one of the fundraising ideas that I have for PA-TSA is to sell items at regional conference and to work with the regional representatives committee. And we would split the money raised at the regional conference. It will benefit the ACS and PA-TSA. I also served on the National Service Project Committee for the past 2 years, so I know that there have been efforts made to have a TSA apparel sale at states, and I want to continue these efforts if elected your next state treasurer. And here I plan on splitting the profit that we make between the ACS and PA-TSA so we can fundraise for both at the same time.
All right, next up is Rick.
Okay, thank you. So I think the one thing that is really fundamental to fundraising, then that's something that I have seen this year as a president of Region 8, is that you really need to rely on chapters to fundraise, because chapters are really out there and you can do so much when it comes to chapter level fundraising. So my main initiative would be making a way to streamline chapter fundraising so that basically chapters have both the tools in one place, but also the resources to kind of get that fundraising and show the impact. And so I propose to kind of come up with a place where chapters can submit that fundraising material, all the proceeds that they have done, and we have a dashboard so that we can see what chapters have been up to. And I think that that's going to be something that focuses chapter level fundraising, so we know where we are getting the most strength and really go from there. Thank you.
Next up is James.
Welcome, PA-TSA. I've absolutely loved fundraising for the ACS as part of my regional officer duties, but we both know that we don't spend all of our time at state conferences or regional conferences. We spend our time at our chapters. This is why I need to create the Link subcommittee as part of the National Service Project Committee if I were given the opportunity to chair it, where we would directly reach out to chapters, give instructions on how to streamline fundraising, create initiatives, and generally give presentations as needed to help direct fundraising at the chapter level, the base and heart of PA-TSA. Additionally, my event adjustment station idea would also fundraise for the ACS, as all proceeds donated would go towards that as well.
All right, last but not least is Philip.
Hello, PA-TSA. I personally believe that our greatest problem right now is lack of incentivization. Sure, giving plaques to top chapters who raise the most money and giving them also reserved seating is nice, but I think I know what you guys really want. It's the skip lines. So my proposal is to create a VIP pass for those who have raised the most money for the ACS, which allows you to skip lines for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, events drop-offs, and more. You can also receive discounts on TSA attire, printing, and any video game tournaments that you're interested in. So I believe that incentivizing is very important, and that's how I'll solve that problem.
All right. Thank you, treasurer candidates. We'll now move on to the reporter candidates. Your question is, so the question is, how would you improve PA-TSA's social media presence this upcoming year? We'll start with Raj Patel.
I would say the biggest thing first to increase PA-TSA's social media presence is to enhance social media engagement. And I think the best way to achieve that goal would be through social media forums like Google Forms, interactive stories, Padlets, etc. So members can relay information to officers on what they want to improve and what they want to see at the PA-TSA conferences, and overall just make it more interactive. And I think these forums would be a great way for officers to get feedback and also see members impact PA-TSA in a generally positive manner. And I would also say in general, just increasing promotional content, reaching out to more members, and also just encouraging chapter officers to promote PA-TSA social media would all help boost that engagement and social media presence.
Instead of just using social media as a way to tell people what's going on, I want to use social media as a way to help members. So one of my main initiatives is to create a video tutorial series. So with the help of our YouTube channel, as well as IGTV on Instagram, we can create videos covering topics such as fundraising and chapter recruitment and any other basics of TSA, which would help new members get a handle on TSA, as well as provide the basics for maybe older members who already know what they're doing but might need a quick refresher. I also want to increase our social media following. Social media is useless if you don't have a following to actually view it. So I would like to do giveaways on our social media page by partnering with small businesses and having people follow our Instagram account to participate.
All right, thank you, reporter candidates.
All right, so we'll move on to the Sergeant at Arms position. So the first question is, why do you feel you are best suited for the office of Sergeant at Arms? And the first candidate up is Zain Al-Salim.
Hi, PA-TSA. So this year I had the honor of serving as the Conference Sessions and Initiatives Vice Chair, where I was able to work closely with the Sergeant at Arms to build necessary skills for the position. I've also been in CSAC for the past 3 years and have led various different sessions like trivia night, board game tournament, and the Minecraft competition. I've also helped with many other sessions. In addition, I've served in chapter office for the past 3 years, where I could make meaningful change and develop my skills as a leader. And my experiences have given me the proper skills and knowledge to lead as the next State Sergeant at Arms.
All right, the next candidate up is Kendall Coddington.
Hi, I think I'm best suited for this position because I don't want to just stick to normal PA-TSA things, if you know what I mean. I've served in the CSAC committee this year, and I went above and beyond with that. I brought in outside businesses for my new session I created. We have NASA engineers, shell games developers, bird brain technology, company members, and reporters from KDKA News. And I want to really expand on just base level officer duties. And I have also done a lot that is just kind of beyond the average committee member.
Right, the next candidate is Evan Kahn.
So absolutely. So the role of Sergeant Arms is to create an inviting environment for everyone. And really what that boils down to is helping the members. And I believe my past 5 years as a TSA member have given me the right experiences to learn the issues that actually affect TSA members. As a 2-time regional officer, a 2-time chapter president, and last year serving as my chapter Sergeant Arms, I've seen the issues that really impact PA-TSA members. And that's allowed me to create my communication, connection, and comfort initiatives. I know what issues impact PA-TSA members, and I'm here to solve these challenges as your next Sergeant Arms.
The next candidate is Rushiel Nagandi.
Hi, everyone. As Evan just said, the duty of the Sergeant at Arms is to make people feel welcome. And I hope to do this by making that first year easier and less stressful for newer members and middle schoolers. This year, I had the opportunity of serving on the leading the Event Resources Subcommittee within CSAC, in which we created useful guides for members to use to help with their events. In addition, I served as Lead Region 3 Representative, Regional President, and Chapter Vice President. So I know the ins and outs of how to help members feel welcome into this community and also succeed in their events at the same time.
All right, thank you. And lastly is Miriam Brubach.
I believe that I am best suited for the position of Sergeant at Arms because I believe in teamwork. I'm passionate about TSA, and I have had tons of leadership experience throughout my entire TSA career. Through being a president and vice president of my middle and high school chapters, and being a leader of the Minecraft Special Interest Session and the Conference Sessions and Activities Committee, I've been able to lead a group and work with each other through teamwork all together. And that is what being a Sergeant at Arms is about, creating an environment throughout our entire TSA span together. I'm passionate about TSA, and I believe that together we can work to foster a better environment, improve our technology, and be part of an effort to improve the world. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And with that, we'll move on to the second round of questions. And since we're going in reverse order, that is going to start with the Sergeant at Arms position again. So for the Sergeant at Arms position, how do you plan to improve the special interest sessions hosted by PA-TSA? And since we're going in reverse order, Miriam, you will be first.
Thank you. I plan to improve the Conference Sessions and Activities Committee through hearing from you. With working to the reporter and our newly founded polls on Instagram, we will be able to expand our following and hear what you would like for our Conference Sessions and Activities Committee. Throughout the entire year, we'll be able to build, and even one of my campaign initiatives is to work on leadership forums to learn how you will want to be a better leader and have a great time at our amazing state conference. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next is Rushiel Nagandi.
Hi, everyone. This year has definitely been difficult with having to do everything virtually. In fact, we are in a virtual substitute for a TSA event right now. However, I think we can use technology to enhance our special interest sessions next year. I plan to do this by incorporating virtual workshops and special interest sessions before the conference throughout the season that will help people with their events, connect members throughout the chapters and regions, and it will also encourage collaboration. In addition to that, I hope to implement early surveys on special interest sessions where members can have a voice on what special interest sessions they would like to have instead of this decision being limited to the CSAC committee itself.
All right, thank you. Next is Evan Kahn.
Thank you. So as I stated before, Sergeant Arms is all about working for you, the Pennsylvania TSA members, and that's what I would do if elected to the student officer team and I got to chair the CSAC committee. So first of all, with my communication initiative, I'd get to hear from you directly, the Pennsylvania TSA membership, through the implementation of town hall style meetings. We can hear the issues that really affect you and then work to create special interest sessions that address these concerns. Additionally, through my Convert initiative, I'd create a series of introductory videos that explain what TSA is and how to create the best product possible. I believe we could consolidate some of these videos also into creating a special interest session so we can help you, the members, create the best projects possible, and also a new to state special interest session so we can show new members that have never been to the state conference or members that haven't been there the last 2 years where things are so you don't get lost, and we can relieve your anxiety at states. Thank you.
All right, next is Kendall Coddington.
This is kind of what I was saying earlier, but what I did this year for my new special interest session, the life skills session that I'm hosting, is I brought in outside places, STEAM related companies that would really benefit us and that a lot of us are going to be going into soon when we go into our careers in the future, and bring them in, have them share their wisdom with us. And I don't want to just contain that to the new life skills special interest session. As chair of the CSAC committee, I would bring in outside people that would be of much use to us to just about every special interest session. There would be so much wisdom passed to the members and so much that every member could learn just by going to a few minutes of a special interest session. Thank you.
All right, and lastly is Zain Asloon.
So I would like to start a college prep special interest session where students can use their TSA experiences to benefit them in their post-secondary efforts. So in the session, I would have alumni speak either in person or virtually about how they use TSA in their college applications and how they use TSA to create a successful future. And I would also put the resources that were discussed at the session on the PA-TSA website to help students with their college efforts all year round.
All right, thank you, Sergeant at Arms candidates. Now we'll move on to reporter. Your question is, what plans do you have for the Communications and Promotions Committee?
I would love to expand the initiatives of the Communications and Promotions Committee using my initiatives. So one of my, again, as I said earlier, one of my biggest one is the video tutorial series. A lot of members of the CAPSI committee do have experience with video production, and using their experience, we can create more videos that would be able to help members. I also want to reformat the email newsletter. So currently it's extremely outdated, and also a lot of people don't know about it. And we could use to its fullest potential by reformatting it, as well as adding sections such as opportunities for members outside of TSA, such as a scholarship list or internship list. I also want to just increase the amount of things that are going on our social media with the help of the CAPSI committee. So creating more posts, more stories, and overall just improving our communication.
Thank you. Next up, Viraj.
My first plan is to restructure the Communications and Promotions Committee by including a subcommittee that holds different skill workshops for anyone around the state so they can get better at certain skills or techniques like graphic design or just different skills in general. And at the end of the day, it will help members with social media, creating promotional content for their chapter, and also in general, just learning new information that can help them with their events. And my next plan for the Communications and Promotions Committee is to strengthen state communication by working to reach out to other states, which can help in adopting new initiatives or even just advertising conferences or events for other states. And a part of this objective is to actually work with the Outreach Committee to get more PA-TSA members involved in state networking, which can help them develop connections with members in and outside of PA-TSA, which is overall just beneficial to them.
All right, thank you, reporter candidates. Next up is treasurer. So your next question is, how will you use your fundraising experience as the chair of the National Service Project Committee?
Thank you. So this past year, I served as the vice chair of the NSP committee. I personally headed the chapter fundraising subcommittee, where we worked on developing a fundraising kit and the assistance initiative. The fundraising kit is basically it consists of a list of virtual fundraisers that chapters can do, a step-by-step plan for chapters to develop a fundraiser, and tips and FAQ, and sample outreach advertisement that they could use to help develop their own advertisements. And then as for the assistance initiative, it basically allows chapter officers to reach out to the NSP to arrange meetings where they can ask about fundraising. So I just like to expand upon my own efforts this year, and that will be done by chairing the NSP next year.
All right, thank you. Next up is James.
Hello, PA-TSA. As I've said, I've loved fundraising for the ACS as a regional officer, and additionally, I've served as chapter treasurer, which has given me valuable experience balancing a budget. And I want to use this, like I've said, to focus on the chapter level through the link subcommittee for the National Service Project Committee. We're going to reach out to chapters, give them presentations, personally visit upon request, help streamline the process, give them all the information they need, keep consistent communication, and more, all to make sure that they know what they're doing, when they need to do it, how they need to do it, and everything in between. Additionally, the Event Adjustment Station initiative, which I would use by the National Service Project Committee, would help fundraise as well, as all proceeds would go towards ACS.
Thank you. Next up is Rick.
Okay, so thank you. So I have had a lot of experience not only working to fundraise in my own chapter, work with corporate sponsorships, but I've also had the opportunity to work in my region. And this year we raised more than $1,000 with our apparel sale, along with working with chapters to make sure that they have the resources to fundraise. And I think the ultimate way that I would use my position as the chair of National Service Project Committee is that I would really have this open stream of communication where chapters are able to reach out and they not only have the tools to fundraise, but they also have that support. And I think that support, like I've said in my previous initiatives, working to make a dashboard streamlining the ACS donation process so that ACS donation isn't something that's unknown, but something that chapters are very experienced with and have the comfortability to work with. Thank you.
Thanks. Last is Avanti.
At my regional conference last year, I sold items to help fundraise for the ACS. I was a Region 3 representative and I raised around $100 by this one initiative for the ACS. Implementing this across all the regions would raise a lot of money for the ACS. As my chapter's treasurer this year, I've learned how hard it is for chapters to fundraise. What I want to do is organize meetings throughout the year where chapters who are struggling with fundraising could come, and chapters who have had successful fundraising efforts could also attend. And here, this could be a collaborative space where people can share their fundraising concerns, and chapters who are successfully fundraising can talk about their positive efforts and help each other out.
Thank you, treasurer candidates.
All right, now for the second secretary question. I've pasted it in the chat. What plans do you have for the outreach committee, or how will you elaborate on this year's committee work? First up is Benny Madolfski.
So this year, outreach kind of focused at the state level. So my plans for next year, if I was to be elected, would firstly be finishing the plans put forth this year by reaching out to the organizations, colleges, and companies through the research and perspective documents that were already developed in the committee this year. And so now that we have that foundation, I'd like to build off of that and utilize these newly established connections at the chapter level by revitalizing a lot of the outreach resources on the PA-TSA website. And so this would help chapters gain new sources of funding through corporate outreach and through outreaching to their own school boards.
All right, thank you. Second is Erin Mckendree.
Hello, PA-TSA. I know over the last year, the Outreach Committee has worked tirelessly to formulate email templates to reach out for PA-TSA. I think that my scholarship initiative would branch out on this by establishing a similar setup in order to contact a target audience and formulate scholarships for all of PA-TSA. I also plan on having the Outreach Committee research for the Index Initiative. I know we have spent years researching scholarships, programs, and way more, and I think it's time that we put it into a concise document for PA-TSA to use. The branding initiative is more a team effort and will span over the course of several committees, but the Outreach Committee will be vital in determining who can be our distributor and such. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary candidates.
All right, for the position of Vice President, this is a two-part question. Why did you initially run for state office, and why are you now seeking re-election for the position of Vice President? And first up is Julie Wright.
All right, thank you, Evan. So I initially ran for state office because I wanted to allow every member in our delegation to maximize the potential of what our delegation can bring to them. I got to do this on the Conference Sessions and Activities Committee last year, where I helped to create new special intersessions so that we could provide the best experience to our members. And that is what I plan to do with the Regional Representatives Committee this year. My primary initiative is to increase communication between regions and chapters, because that is how I believe we will be able to bring everything else that we can bring to the members. My other initiatives include increasing network opportunities and assistance to new chapters, and this all begins at communication.
So I initially ran for state office mainly because I was inspired by a lot of my chapter members. I got to see the involvement that my chapter members were able to put in at the state level through committees, and from there I was able to join committees. And then from there, I was able to work further on the state level and realize that my ideas, my dedication to this organization would allow me to serve as a great state officer and put into effect the ideas I had. And I'm seeking re-election because I feel that there's a problem with interregional communication, and we need to improve communication between regions. And the only way to do this truly is to assign regions to work together instead of by themselves from now on. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President candidates. Next up, we have the question for our president candidate, I'll put it in the chat. Please elaborate on one of your campaign initiatives and how it'll improve PA-TSA membership. Madison.
Great question. So one of my initiatives is to make state officer chapter visits more easily accessible. So this past year, I had the opportunity to visit one of our chapters via Zoom, and we had some really great TSA related discussions. I gave them some advice on fundraising, and we talked about some events, and this is something that I think would really benefit all the members of PA-TSA. So I want to create a standard Google form and put it up on the website and advertise it for all the members so everyone can request a state officer visit easily and conveniently. Thank you.
Thank you, Madison.
All right, so we are actually going to have 2 group questions for you all. I'm not sure if everyone should turn their cameras on for this since it is a group question. So yes, you can. All right, great. If you guys can turn your cameras on. Starting with the office of president, we are going to go down the line all the way through Sergeant at Arms. The first question is, who is your inspiration in TSA and why? Madison Martin.
Great question. So I definitely have many inspirations within TSA. However, my biggest would definitely have to be Abigail Rigner. When I was a freshman in TSA, she was a senior in my chapter and she was also our state president. And it was so cool to watch her serve our state delegation and see all of her ideas get implemented. Over the past few years, she's given me some really great TSA advice, and it would be a huge honor to follow in her footsteps as your next state president.
All right, second is Avery Brody.
Yeah, so I would say that my biggest inspiration are definitely my fellow chapter members along with my advisors. Getting to see how much work my advisors put in and truly how much they care for each and every member and ensure that all of our events are done properly and to the best of our ability. It truly inspires me every day just to see how much good there is within TSA. And along with this, getting to see members cooperate and participate at the state level was also really nice. And it definitely inspired me to join state committees. And I would say it's definitely part of the reason that I'm running for state office as of now. Thank you.
Julie Wright.
I think my biggest TSA inspiration would have to be my sister, Emily Wright. She was the one who initially introduced me to the concept of TSA when I was only in elementary school, and she was the one who always showed me what experiences this could bring. And those are the experiences that I hope to pass down to you as your next state vice president. She was the one who initially told me about committees and state office, and she showed me how an individual TSA member can truly put forth change to this organization and make memories and meet with other chapters and meet people from across schools and just see the full potential of TSA and everything that it has to offer. And I think that she just showed me so much about this organization, and I want to ensure that I can show you everything that she has shown me.
Erin Mckendree.
Yes, hello. I would have to say that my biggest inspiration in TSA is one of our graduated members. She really was always very open. I know when I joined in 7th grade, I was totally clueless, and she opened her arms and was able to give me great advice and was always a leader in her community, not just TSA, but all around. And I just knew that I wanted to be able to do what she could do and go beyond that. And she was able to really elevate me to that point and help me on my journey. Thank you.
Benny Madolfski.
So I think my biggest role model in TSA would probably have to be Dhruv Agarwal, our national TSA reporter. So I remember coming home from like states in 6th grade and hearing Dhruv and another high schooler talk about their committee and campaigning experience. And they encouraged me to join committees the next year. And the next thing I knew, I was joining all of the committees, running for state office and having a blast. He definitely shaped the future of my TSA career and probably my actual career path.
Avanti.
I would say I had 2 major influences in TSA. The first I would say was my chapter's president when I was a freshman. He really helped me. He was very passionate about TSA, and he had been a TSA member for 4 years. and he really helped me see how much TSA had to offer. And I would say that my second influence was actually you, Megan. I remember speaking to you at my very first state conference when you were running for state reporter. You were so passionate about your initiatives, and I recall you being so excited to talk to me about why you wanted to run. And that actually inspired me to join state committees the next year.
All right, Rick.
Okay, so thank you. So probably my biggest inspiration would have to be my middle school chapter's advisor, Mr. Sheeler. And I think that when I first joined TSA, it was really him who opened up and kind of showed me that you can make so many mistakes, you could mess around, but in the end, you had these goals to go towards. And he was just so open about how we had to progress, and it was just an amazing experience working with him and our whole chapter, especially in middle school, because we really didn't know even what we were doing, but in the end it all turned out okay. And I think it was one of the most inspiring things that eventually got me to be more involved in high school and be where I am today.
All right, James.
Welcome. So my biggest TSA inspiration has been my chapter's former president and former state officer, Jonah Proper, who initially encouraged me to run for regional office, setting me on the path where I am today. Additionally, we worked together on the debate club, and it's been a great honor working beside him. He is really my biggest inspiration in wanting to run, wanting to give back to TSA, and wanting to make a real positive impact for all of our members as we prepare to return to Seven Springs next year. And it would be a great honor to do so as your state treasurer. So remember, a vote for James is a vote for change.
Philip?
Okay. I would have to say that my role model is Elliot Ginsberg. I knew him since he was a little kid in TSA. I remember he's the one that told me to buy my first Robert's Rules of Order 11th edition book. And honestly, it's kind of surprising where we are now. We went from little kids jumping on that national stage to running for state office and being a state president. So I know I'm only one of many who look up to him, and I truly aspire to be like him. He's a strong leader, a model member, and I think most importantly, a great friend. So I would love to follow in his footsteps by being your next state treasurer.
Raj?
I would say my biggest inspiration would probably be Apu in the national officer team and Dhruv, and just like the passion they brought to PA-TSA and for Apu to TSA, and seeing them inspire the members and really improve TSA is something that I strive to emulate. And even like the lasting impact they had on members like me is what inspired me to get more involved. And I would also say Arnav is also a inspiration just because we're from the same chapter, and seeing him run last year and find success and doing really well with the state officer team is also something that inspired me to get more involved this year.
Michelle?
My inspirations would definitely just be my advisors. They're always there for me when I need them, and they're always pushing me to do more, whether it be getting more involved or even just with my events and coming up with new ideas. They're always like, even if it's like 2:30 in the morning at States, they're still there. They're still answering my texts. And yeah, it's that passion and love for TSA I would love to bring to the state officer team and to all of you.
Zane?
So my inspiration would have to be Ben Apt, probably because when I met him at States 2019, he told me that he wasn't doing any events and he wasn't allowed to participate in any sort of activities because he was a national officer. And I thought he would have an awful time, but being with him at States, he showed me that having such a strong passion for TSA and making change within TSA is just all the fun you need.
Kendall?
I know I'm not the first to say this, but he deserves it. Dhruv, definitely. He really showed me that TSA wasn't all business and TSA also wasn't all fun. He mixed it in the most perfect way. He really put the family in the One TSA thing, and he also was really passionate about his goals and all of the work he was doing. And he is just such a nice person, and I want to be that kind of light on the state officer team to make younger members feel welcome. He actually, so my sister's state conference got canceled because of COVID, like all of the rest of you guys, but she was in middle school and she didn't really have a good states before. So he made a video welcoming to her to virtual states, which was super sweet. And I want to have that same kind of effect on younger members as Sergeant at Arms.
All right, Evan?
Absolutely. I'd have to say my biggest inspiration to run for TSA state office would be my two middle school advisors, Mr. Kostick and Mr. Bakatis. I came from a very small middle school, but the very few members we had were very dedicated, and my advisors really fueled this dedication. They showed us we can't just start working on our projects the night before regionals or states, and they really guided us along the path to make better projects. And they're the ones that told me I should run for state office. But seeing the way they inspired our members and helped them create better projects has inspired the initiatives I've created today. And that's why I'm so excited to run for the office of Sergeant Arms to represent the PA-TSA membership. So thank you, Mr. Bakatis and Mr. Kostick.
Rushiel?
Without a doubt, my inspiration would be my advisor, Mr. Kaufmel. The amount of dedication he has to the TSA at the state, chapter, and regional levels is something I can only strive to have. He's never hesitated to help me, give me advice, or reply to my many emails, and he's been a role model ever since I joined TSA.
And Miriam?
My greatest TSA inspiration would have to be my middle school advisor. He encouraged me to join TSA and go into being a girl in STEM. And I thank you so much for that. He also brought me to states where I told him that I wanted to be on that stage one day and run for state office. And here I am, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Mr. Sheeler. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now on to the second round of questions.
All right, so our last question tonight is a pretty infamous question within PA-TSA. So here it goes. If you were a fruit, what fruit would you be and why? We'll go in the same order again, starting with Madison.
All right, so based on my candidate statement, you're probably expecting me to say a pineapple. However, I'm going to say a guava because I guava a lot of good ideas for PA-TSA.
Avery?
My favorite fruit is a raisin because if I was elected as your next state vice president, I'll continue raising the bar for PA-TSA.
Julie?
PA-TSA, you know what fruit I am. I'm an apple because an apple a day is good for PA-TSA, but it's time we ask ourselves which fruit are we, to which I answer we are a star fruit because our delegation is full of stellar members who have so much potential, and the symbol of office for the vice president is a star, so I think a star fruit is a good way to answer this question.
Erin?
If I was the fruit, I would definitely be a mango because they're unique and they mesh well with all kinds of foods.
Benny?
If I was a fruit, I would be a pear because I'm a perfect fit for secretary.
Avanti?
If I was a fruit, I would have to be an orange because I will arrange some amazing fundraisers to raise money for PA-TSA and the ACS.
Rick?
If I was a fruit, I would have to be a pineapple because pineapples are so bright and they really add a kick to whatever's going on.
James?
If I were to be a fruit, I would pick a fruit salad overall because our initiatives have something for everyone. Real ideas, real change, starting with a brand new PA-only event voted by you guys, the event adjustment station where you can make edits to your events at states to save them, or our new ACS fundraising techniques. There will be something for everyone at every level, and I hope you consider me for your state treasurer when we return to Seventh Springs next year, so that we can come back stronger than ever with a refreshing change. Thank you.
Philip?
If I were to be a fruit, I'd most likely be a mango because you don't want to let this man go. They also make pretty good smoothies, so.
Viraj?
I'd probably be a banana because it's a versatile fruit and that you can use it in pretty much every food item. And I guess in comparison to me, I can handle any type of task or obstacle that comes my way.
Michelle?
If I were a fruit, I would be an apple because PA-TSA is the apple of my eye.
Zane?
If I were a fruit, I would be a coconut because I'm tough to crack and it has all the nutrients for survival, just like I have all the skills for success.
Kendall?
I would definitely be an avocado because they're a superfood and they're good for you, just like I'd be good for this organization. Also, can we agree that that's the best fruit?
Evan?
I'd be a banana because I'm going bananas thinking about the possibility that I can serve as your next Sergeant at Arms.
Rushiel?
I'd be a watermelon because I hope to make TSA a melon times more wonderful than it already is.
And last but not least, Miriam?
If I were a fruit, I'd be a pineapple because a pineapple is a symbol of welcoming. And as the doorkeeper of our amazing organization, I will welcome all of our members to the state conference. Thank you.
All right, thank you to all of our candidates. That concludes the Q&A portion of tonight. Thank you to everyone for watching and for answering our questions. And we hope you enjoy your state conference.